Hello， 大家好，欢迎来到我们今天黑熊学院的特别节目，我是主持人动眼神经。那我们今天非常荣幸的呢，邀请到了我们驻台的以色列经济文化办事处的代表游玛雅来到我们的现场。那当然还有我们黑熊学院的执行长，我们的小肖老师也来到我们现场。那我们今天当然特别邀请到游代表来这边呢，就是希望说可以聊聊，我们从这一次的以哈冲突、以哈战争里面可以学到什么相关的经验，那尤其是在跟黑熊学院一直很关注的民防的这一块经验上面的一些交流这样。那一开始呢，我先跟大家简单的讲解一下这个知识背景哈。那其实这个事件的开始呢，是在上个月10月7号的时候，以色列突然遭到了袭击。那它这个奇袭呢，就是有火箭炮有攻击到以色列部分的地区，哈马斯的这个地面部队开始攻击以色列的境内，那也有很多的人质被掳走，那就开启了这样子的以哈的冲突这样子。那我们可以知道的是，主要发起冲突的是哈马斯这个组织，那它是属于比较偏激的比较极端的这个组织巴勒斯坦这块地区上面，就是除了已经建国的这个以色列之外，有2块是由巴勒斯坦人主要生活的地方，就是我们这次重点看到的这个地区叫做加萨走廊以及呢另外一块在约旦河西岸这边也是有居住的非常多数的这个巴勒斯坦人。那哈马斯呢，其实很多人在讨论说，其实他应该是不能代表巴勒斯坦全体的人民嘛，因为他们是属于比较极端的组织，而且就是在很多西方的国际上面是把他们定义为恐怖组织这样子。那大家简单知道这个始末以后，我们也是想要来请教一下，就根据 CNN 报道在巴勒斯坦总理阿巴斯他在15号有发表谈话，还有谴责哈马斯他发动这样子的恐怖攻击嘛。那他也声明说，哈马斯其实并不能代表巴勒斯坦。好，那我们是想要了解说，那以色列是怎么看待哈马斯组织，然后怎么看待巴勒斯坦，以及主要是在约旦河西岸这边的巴勒斯坦解放组织，这3者怎么看待他们以及他们的关系？这样。
Okay. Well, thanks for having me here. And let me first correct one thing, and that is, unfortunately, Abbas, who is the head of the Palestinian Authority, did not condemn Hamas. He deleted that message on October 15th. Yeah, so he put it out there after a talk that he had with a world leader, and then a few hours later, he deleted that. And this is unfortunate because what is important to know about Hamas is that it is an extreme genocidal Islamic movement. It does not represent not all the Palestinians and definitely not all the Muslims in the world. Yeah. There are 2 million Muslims in the world. Most of them are tolerant people, are peace-loving people. They want to live in security and in peacefulness with their neighbors. And Hamas is an extreme fraction of that with a very extreme ideology that I will explain in a minute. Hamas is the ruler on Gaza, which is a small land strip between Israel and Egypt. They came into rule in 2007, 2 years after Israel left Gaza. Israel took out all of its citizens, everyone, cleared all of the villages within Gaza, and handed Gaza Strip to the Palestinian Authority back in 2005. There were elections, and Hamas won the elections. What did they do to their opponents? To the Fatah, to the Palestinian Authority? Do you know? They killed them. They threw them out of the roofs and killed all of their opponents. That was the beginning in 2007. Hamas has been ruling Gaza since 2007, and every few years we had rounds of violence with Hamas attacking Israeli civilians from its territories. This is because they believe in 3 things, and don't trust me. Go and read for yourself, Google it, and you will find on the charter where Hamas was established in 1988, the 3 things that they believe at. The first thing, they believe that all Muslims should kill all Jews. This is very important to know because only this past month, the leaders of Hamas were calling for every Muslim around the world to go and hunt down Jews and kill them. And we saw incidents of that in France, in China, and in other places around the world. The second thing that Hamas believes at is they want the annihilation of Israel. They have a chant, which is, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. What does it mean? When you look on the map of Israel, the sea is the Mediterranean Sea. The river is the Jordan River. It means that all of that area they want to have for themselves, which means no right for Israel to exist as a state. So they call for our elimination. And the third thing that they believe is on the Islamic State. Now, it's a big conversation. What is an Islamic State? But the main ideas of that is that the rules in that state will be rules that do not belong into our life, liberal ideas. You know, here we sit down and we speak, which means that you have freedom of speech, you have freedom of thought, you have freedom of religion. We are both women. We have women's rights. We have minorities' rights. There are many liberal ideas that both of us have every day. Islamic State does not believe in any of that. No freedom of religion, only Islam. No women's right, but suppression of women. No minorities' right. If you go past the law, you are punished to death. You are stoned to death. This is Islamic State. It's an ideology which is very extreme. So this is the rule of Hamas in Gaza. This is about the rule that Palestinians are being obeying to, while the leaders of Hamas, they don't live in Gaza. Do you know where they live? They live in Qatar and in Turkey. Oh. They are, again, do not believe me, go and check for yourself in investigating journalism how they are billionaires. They hold billions of dollars to themselves, the leaders, while the people in Gaza are extremely poor. So, and that will be the last to try to explain a very complex idea. The rule in Gaza by Hamas can no longer exist. After the massacre on October 7th, we can no longer accept that that type of military threat will exist on our borders. And this is in a very sharp contradiction to the relationship that we have with the Palestinian authorities. With them, we have security coordination and we have discussions. We have many, many disagreements. We don't agree on many issues, but we talk. Because with them, there is a willingness to discuss and to try to have a compromise and to reach a solution.
刚刚讲巴勒斯坦统治者就是巴勒斯坦解放组织，对不对？
Yes, exactly. Yes. So the other side is now being led by Abu Mazen for more than 2 decades. No elections also there. So we are not dealing with democratic entities in our area. Actually, in the Middle East, Israel is the only democratic country.
那其实以色列部队也已经展开地面行动了。那想要问说，以色列军方有没有什么比较具体的方法，就是我在一边歼灭哈马斯的同时，我们可以降低平民的伤亡这样。
So before entering ground operation into Gaza, we understood that this is going to be one of the most difficult wars that we can have. And the reason is because it is a very densely populated area with civilians. This is a war zone that we have to fight inside a city with many people. So what do you do in that situation? What options do you have? Because this war, we were attacked, again, our civilians, not soldiers, and we had to react and declare war on Hamas. We are not fighting the Palestinians. They are not our enemy. We're fighting Hamas. But Hamas has located itself deliberately underneath hospitals. using the hospital facilities for its own military command centers, hiding inside of schools, hiding inside of mosques. What do you do when this is the situation?
大家应该有些人有看到说，加沙走廊好像地底下有非常多的地道，对，还是可以请小肖老师帮我们补充一下。
对，我们从报道中可以发现，就是说，因为哈马斯长期在这个加沙经营很久了，然后他会将他的重要的军事目标，军火库隐藏在这个民宅，甚至是就是在医院学校的附近。那我想这一定会加大以色列军方在对哈马斯作战上的困难。我们想了解这个以色列官方面对这样的挑战的时候，有什么样的应对，或者是有什么样的说明
I think that we have two options, okay? Maybe there are more, but let's talk. The first one, we can have air bombing on Gaza with disregard to any civilians that is there, right? We can just shoot from the air. We don't even go on a ground. We can just flatten Gaza. That will cause many more deaths for civilians because this is indiscriminate. You just put your air bombs on Gaza. This is one option, right? Yeah. Second option is you do care. You care deeply about the civilian population there. And you understand that they're also victims to Hamas. So you do your utmost as a responsible country that obliged to the international humanitarian law to try and get out the civilians from that area so it will be a war zone between military, the Israeli Defense Forces, and the terrorists by Hamas. So actually, the ground invasion, the ground operation inside Gaza allowed our tanks to go and guard the humanitarian corridor between north of Gaza to the south. Because what we previously saw is that we gave warning and messages to the civilian population, calling them, please go from northern Gaza to the south part. The south part will be a safer area. You will have humanitarian aid there. You will have food, water, medical supplies. What you need will be in the southern part. But then what we saw is Hamas blocking the roads. They were shooting on the Palestinian civilians, not allowing them to go. When we entered with ground operation, we were able to guard the path, the corridor, and during the last few days, we see thousands of Palestinians walk to the south part because there is the guarantee of the Israeli Defense Forces protecting them. So actually, the ground operation allows us to be much more careful about what we are doing, and it minimizes the harm to civilian life, not the opposite way. There is much more responsibility about the way that we're doing that, and this is with a much greater risk to our forces. We already lost a lot of soldiers' life. Many people already died there, but we are willing to take this risk because we understand that they are civilians, and we understand that in order to win Hamas, we have to go physically and go underneath to the tunnels.
那我们也知道说，其实联合国也是很努力的，想要在加沙走廊这边去做一些人道救援的行动嘛。那但是在10月25号联合国安理会的会议上，我们有看到说，就是原本美国主导的这个议案遭到了俄国跟中国的否决。那当然也有俄国提出的议案遭到否决。那可不可以请代表帮我们解释一下说，怎么会有这样子的状况？有没有办法有机会达到共识呢？
Good question. You know, the easy answer will be to say that this is a geostrategic competition between the great powers. But actually, this is partial of the truth. I think that in order to see a consensus, you need to see two things. One is timing, and the second is the content of the resolution, the decision that is being taken at the UN. So the timing. The timing now for any initiative for a ceasefire or for peace negotiations, it's too early.
Oh, okay.
It's just too early. The reason is we have not yet accomplished our goals for this military war. We have not yet dismantled the military capabilities of Hamas. You know, they built it since 2007. It cannot be just dismantled within one day. It will take time. And we need that time, because if we have a too early ceasefire, it means that Hamas still have the ability to attack Israel and to threaten us, and we cannot live in security, which means that this violence will occur again. The second thing is about the content of the decision. And in this, it is very important to remember that in the text itself, it should be very clear that you cannot put an equal size on Israel and Hamas. Israel is a responsible democratic country that obeys to the international humanitarian law. This is why we care for the Palestinians. We understand that they are being used as human shields by Hamas. On the other hand, Hamas, it's a terrorist organization. It's not only that they don't protect civilians, they intentionally go and attack civilians. So you cannot have, in the context of the decision by the UN, calling for both sides. You have to see that this is a terrorist organization. It's important for me to say, because a lot of people ask me, you know, you have been killed only 1,400 only, right? People, civilians. But you already killed for the Palestinians 10,000, 15,000, you know, these large numbers. So until when? But I'm saying, one, it's not about the numbers. This is about the future threat, because we continue to hear the Hamas leaders call for the elimination of Israel. And only last week, they were calling and saying, the October 7th massacre, we're willing to do it again and again and again. So if they have still the intentions and they have the capabilities, this is a threat we need to make sure will never happen again.
我想这个我很有这样的感触，因为在这个悲剧发生之后，其实台湾和包括美国、日本等民主国家的不管是政府或民间社会，都站出来支持力挺像以色列。但相对的，比如说像中国，对于这次的冲突，就明显的偏袒像哈马斯这样的恐怖组织。
Well, you know, China will say that they are neutral. And that they want peace and, you know, coming back to negotiations as quick as possible. We hear them, and we don't agree on everything with China. But I think that what is important on this is really the timing. There will be a time for peace and for discussions, but it's not with Hamas. Never that could be possible. They are part of the problem, not the solution. And it is not the right timing yet. So I truly hope that after the war, we will see more Arab countries and countries from the Middle East coming together to support a new Middle East. This is very important, but we will have to wait a little bit longer until that will happen. I will say maybe one more thing that we have said to China. China, they have the Global Security Initiative that they put at the beginning of this year. And part of this GSI, the Global Security Initiative, is fighting together against terrorism. Now, we are calling them exactly to do what they have said that they will do, and that is to fight against Hamas terrorist organization.
这个部分我们是非常了解中国啦，对，他们是最擅长自打嘴巴，
对，有选择的。
拜登总统他是在10月20号的时候有提出加强全球军援这个预算案，然后就把乌克兰啊、以色列啊，还有包括印太地区，像台湾这边都有包进去，那就等于是有一些不同区域的地方都想要帮我们增加一些援助这样子。那会想问代表怎么看这样子区域的冲突，会给台湾什么样的建议吗？
historians and much wiser people than I am were saying, never underestimate the stupidity of humankind. And I really hope that the responsible countries and regimes that see their interest will know to be careful and not to make the situation worse than it already is. This is very important, and I think in here we have, all of us, an important role to continue talk. Especially, I will say that as a diplomat. My work is to talk with people and to get the message and to bring those seeds of ideas and of hope to people. When there is a war, it means I failed as a diplomat. We always need to talk with each other, and this should be done by all the international community. You know, there are many similarities between Israel and Taiwan.
Yeah.
But there are many differences also. Sure. And our situation in the Middle East is very different. It's important to remember that. Because when you look on the situation in the Middle East, it's easy to think of it from a political viewpoint or a geostrategic viewpoint. But there is one very important ingredient, I talked about it before, and that is religion. And this is important in the Middle East to understand. It's complicated. Yeah. It's like, please explain me, China-Taiwan relations in 1 minute. It's impossible. So this is a little bit the same to try to explain religious in the Middle East. But just to know that it's deeper and it's very different than what is happening here. But if there is, I wouldn't say advice, but, sharing from Israeli perspective. One, the reason why October 7th has been so different than before is because our conception of the relationship between Israel and Gaza collapsed. For many years, we tried to improve the economic situation of the people, the Palestinians in Gaza. We allowed more than 20,000 people to come from Gaza every day to work in Israel and earn money. We had containers coming through the port in Israel to Gaza. We had 2 border crossings. If you were to come, you would have seen many trucks and people come and go. We had Palestinians come to Israel to get medical care in our hospitals. On October 7th, we understood that this whole concept that economic relations will have a good solution also on the political level didn't work.
对，其实我觉得这也是我们可以思考的点，因为其实台湾跟中国的经济方面的合作也是非常的深。对，很多人也是常常一日生活圈啊，然后两岸这样跑啊，那很多的就是产业也是分在两岸啊，可能就是前端后端就是都在不同的地方做加工啊等等的，所以其实这个和平真的是非常重要，因为只要有这样子的状况发生，你要怎么谈经济都是没有用的。
I wish it will never happen.
Yeah, me too.
Always try to avoid war. Really, war is a very bad thing to happen. We did not choose this war. We did not want it. We were attacked, and we have to fight this war and win it. Because if we will not win this, there will no longer be a state of Israel. I have no other country to go to. This is the only Jewish country in the world.
没有人希望有战争发生嘛？那当然，如果真的有这种战争发生的话，我们当然是不能投降，只能奋战到最后，只能奋战到最后。其实刚刚讲了很多 mindset， 我觉得我们都很值得去学起来啊。那另外除了这些 mindset 这些想法以外，我们也是希望跟代表请益，因为其实我们知道以色列是军事实力非常强大的一个国家，那我们也知道他们可能全民皆兵嘛，那这次的反应虽然是被突袭，但是其实动员的速度也是非常快，那我们希望说可以从这次的经验里面也让台湾人可以学习来做好准备。那我们是不是小肖老师这边有几个问题想要请教？
因为我们知道以色列其实面对这个战争的威胁做的准备是非常的充足和充分，不免还是会遇到像这样遭到突袭的状况。以色列政府平时是怎么样去 让民众了解这个面对战争的风险要该怎么样进行准备。那另外，我们也另外一个看到一个非常让我们觉得非常佩服的一件事情，就是以色列在战争一爆发的时候，48小时之内，以色列就动员了36万的这个后备军人。那么因为台湾也有面临同样的战争威胁，其实我们很想请教的是说，那平民已经退役的平民，毕竟对于这个原来的这个战争技巧的训练一定会比较生疏，他们怎么样可以在如此迅速的状况下进入战斗的状态？不但快速的集结，而且马上就可以投入战争的应对。那么平时是怎么样去做这样的准备的
Okay. So I'll give maybe a little bit of a background about our military,
？OK，
which is obligatory. We all have to go to the military, men and women.
Yeah.
At the age of 18, men go to 3 years at the military and women for 2 years. Okay? And it may adjust a little bit according to the position of what you will do and the training that you will do during your military service. Now, after the military service, you continue to go every year for training. It's not over.
Yeah.
This is, again, according to your position. But until around in your mid-40s around, you will continue to be trained every year. Now, the way that our units are created are like families. They are small units. Now, how do you feel about your family? You want to protect them.
Yeah.
You're committed to them. You don't want them to be alone. You feel obligated to come and fight with them. And this is exactly what is being seen here now. You will not leave your friends alone to fight. You will join them, even if you are traveling now or studying abroad or being somewhere out of Israel. When this situation occurs, when there is war, people will fly back in, rush back in to join the war. Part of the preparations are done to the civilian. It's by the Home Front Command, so it's part of the military. But we understand that if you go to the front to fight in the war, we have to make sure that your family, your children, your wife, your parents, they are secure. So they are taken care of. So we know how to mobilize and operate also within the civilians. We all have shelters in our house, and we receive direct instructions from the person that we know that everybody needs to listen to during the war. There is one spokesperson. Everybody listen to the commands given on real time. And I think that one more important thing to understand is about the spirit of Israel. And I actually hear, and I'm looking on what you have here, you know, I will carry you, you will be fine, right? Got your back. It's these type of messages that people have, because this is one for all and all for one. You have to work together. So all the preparations are together by the military, by civilians, by the Ministry of Health, the hospitals. Everyone are coordinated before and of course that also during the war itself.
包括像老人、小孩，那面对这个可能的战争威胁，那怎么样去教育他们，或怎么样去协助他们，做好这样的准备？我想台湾的观众也很想要知道说，那如何去教导，包括学童或者是老人。
So I will say that a lot of people in Israel know first aid, for example, how to give medical service, the basic minimal.
Yes.
But this is good, you know, and being given also in school as part of the education system. Because it's okay if somebody in your, you know, family or friends have a heart attack, or have a car accident, or have an emergency situation in your home. So this is something that is relevant for everyone, and you go through that. But all the rest, it is not for the civilians on the day-to-day. It is for the government and the municipalities, for them to be prepared and to know that when it is time, there needs to be a very clear voice coming out from the government to the public.
其实这有点让我想到我们之前疫情的时候，就是很明确的，就是由指挥官来发表相关的东西。因为其实很多之前在疫情之前，或许真的很多人也不知道口罩到底戴哪一面，怎么戴，或是有一些基本的一些防疫的知识可能不是那么了解。但的确，如果是在关键的时候有一个人可以站出来，最有公信力的人站出来，告诉大家说应该要怎么做，其实应该都还是 OK 的这样。
我想也在这边有一些请教大使，就我们也知道，在接下来的这个行动中，包括像哈马斯也好，或其他对于这个以色列抱有敌意的国家也好，会发动，包括除了军事攻击外，另外一个就是所谓的那个资讯战的方式，那舆论攻击的特别是用舆论的方式，试图去谴责或对以色列施压。那么面对这样的情形，不知道以色列政府或以及民间怎么样对此应对
I think that the main misinformation, or the fake news, the media, exactly. This is coming a lot from Hamas, and we're definitely dealing with that in the media. This is very important part of the war, is to try and to get the correct information to the people, and to really have people question everything that they read. For example, when you get numbers, from the Ministry of Health in Gaza, but who controls the Ministry of Health? It's Hamas. Okay. And if you look at the numbers, you get a very high number, again, which I will question, but you will never see how many of them are the fighters, because it will only give you the number of children, but who are the fighters out of it? Now, if you look on the Israeli numbers, you will see we always have a distinction between civilians and soldiers. So we are very correct, and it's part of the war to educate people to ask these questions. We will put a lot of effort to really make people question. I will not try to persuade you, because the pictures that you see from Gaza are very sad, and they are disturbing, and I feel the same as a mother. I see the children there. It's not a scenery that I want to see or that I want to create in this world. But I will ask you, why is this happening? And if you're angry and sad that this is happening in the world, what can you do to change it? Because I do believe that all of us have power to change things. And when you question why, and you go back, you say, oh, there is a responsible one. There is Hamas who rules Gaza, who prevents civilians from walking. What can we do in order to change that situation? But I will let my partner to think for itself what can be done. And I will also say, I know that you're looking at the UN and the countries on the General Assembly, but also look on the number of high-level leaders that visited Israel during the last month. From President Biden, to British, to French president, so many of them were coming because they are in the same club of democracies, like Taiwan is also part of it. And they understand, these leaders, that this is a war that it's not only against Hamas. It's a world of the free world. It's ideology. It's how we live. And should we be allowed to continue living like this? And when they understand that, not only that there is not pressure, but there is a support, and there is a coalition of countries fighting terrorism.
那我们最后一个问题就是想要请教代表说，其实刚真的谈了非常多的东西，那我们也得到很多启发。那以色列的经验真的很值得台湾有更多的交流。那未来有没有Maya有没有规划更多哪些方面跟台湾的交流呢？
So I'm very new to Taiwan. I only arrived less than 3 months ago here. So I will be here. I plan to be here now for a few years and represent Israel. And, before coming here, and I'm really looking forward to come back to all my great plans about economic ties. We have a lot to do, in so many fields. In water, you have shortage of water. We have many technologies. In agriculture, in energy, in environment. I truly believe in tourism. We just signed an agreement about working holiday between Israel and Taiwan. So I hope to see many young Taiwanese come and work for our companies and get the idea of the culture in Israel. We have education and academic and innovation and so many things that we can do together. So it will take a bit longer, but we will be very quick. As Israelis are quick to adapt to a war situation, we are very quick also and resilient to go back into normal life.
那我们今天真的是非常高兴有这个机会可以跟玛雅在这边有这样子深度的交流跟对谈，那非常感谢玛雅，也谢谢小肖老师，谢谢。非常感谢大家今天的收看，那希望今天这集节目对大家来说都很有启发，那也欢迎如果喜欢的话分享给你更多的朋友，那我们就下次再见咯，拜拜。